Malfurion versus the Lich King!
Welcome back to Hearthstone, ladies and gentlemen. I am Rythian, and this is my ongoing chronicle to beat the Lich King with all 9 classes. You've already seen me beat him with the Priest, which was in the Lich King or Frozen Throne series of videos we did, but now I'm coming back, trying to do it all with all the other classes. This is very hard. Well, certain classes more than others. It's funny, when I did it with Priest I thought it was, that was a little bit difficult, but really it's a piece of cake compared to some of these ones. That is the special for the Shaman one. It kills all my units with 3 mana or lower, but that's usually not too much of a problem if you run this deck. I decided to go with a Jade Idol deck, so we got a lot of cards that buffs my Jade Golems and summons a bunch of Jade Golems, and as you can see I've got 2 Gadgets and Auctioneers down there. More or less I'm just here to ramp up, hold out, and Jade it up. I think start going in from scratch for these Lich King fights would be incredibly hard. If you're very experienced in Hearthstone, you can probably figure out what type of decks would work and what types wouldn't. For me, I gave it a go once or twice on my own to understand the fight, what the weakness was, if I could think of any particular. But then, and I am only semi-ashamed to admit this, I looked up decks. I looked up plenty decks on how to beat them and what to figure it out and what to do. Turns out that there is a lot of different options for a lot of different decks, some less so. We'll get into that in a moment. But this one was fairly straightforward, assuming of course you have the actual stats. This spell is incredibly useful to hold them off early on. But really all we are doing is waiting so that we can start ramping up and get our Jade Idols out. We are already at 6 mana, which is really handy. Druid I found to be pretty simple. Once you have the deck, it's more or less foolproof unless you get incredibly screwed over. But in a case like this, we get the Gadgets and Auctioneer out and we start getting cards. Even stuff like Innervate we want to do. Oh, I don't know if we do it this turn. Again, these have been recorded over a series of periods of time, and I am recording the commentary afterwards, so I'm not exactly recording this live. Some things I very much do remember, some things might be a little bit more vague. As it stands right now, Druid was the one I did first, after Priest, so there might be a couple of things where I go, wait a minute, why the hell did I do that? Anti-Magic Shield probably takes the cake as my least favorite spell he has in his entire deck, because goddamn, it's so frustrating not being able to deal with them at all. They get so strong and they get immune to spells, and oh man, it's a tough one. But we're starting the fun stuff pretty early here though. We're pulling lots and lots of cards, and every time we spend a little bit of mana, lots and lots of cards. We're getting lucky in that we're getting Mark of the Lotus though, that is handy. We can buff them up a little bit so they can take some hits. And we still have plenty of health, not to get too worried about what's going on. And finally we get the Spreading Plague, which is going to be incredibly useful, but we can't quite use it yet. Those Mark of the Lotus alone made it so that my Gadgets and Auctioneers are still alive. So on turn 7 he always busts out the Frostburn, and then he will always go for an attack. Once you learn the pattern, you learn to work your way around this. Certain classes have easier or harder ways to deal with this phase. It's a tough one. For certain classes, you get to this phase and you just like, well, it's done. It's over. Certain classes, this is the easiest phase of all of them. It depends a lot on the type of abilities you have. But in general, someone even have a harder time afterwards. Some of these videos will go long for the certain classes, some of them will go very short. This one, I remember getting this far and feeling fairly confident because I have so many Jade Idols at this point. I can just keep shuffling them, and I've not really taken that much damage. The key here is to... I don't want him to move on to the last phase too quickly as possible, because that's when he starts getting Remorseless Winter, doing continuing and increasing damage every turn. So for this one, we want to make sure we stay alive for a bit and fill up the deck with lots and lots, and I mean lots and lots, of Jade Golems. That's when this spell is so nice, it eats up so many attacks. They're so tanky. And these trapped souls are not really a problem for now. Well, meanwhile, we can work on our deck. Parallel Rage is just a flat-out upgrade from Healing Touch, of course. Well, in regards to myself, obviously. And still the Gadgets on auction is there, so we keep pulling cards. Lots and lots of cards. At a certain point, I was worrying if we were gonna get fatigued, but I don't think that ends up happening, really. Well, I know that doesn't end up happening. The Jade Golem is only 2-2 so far. We're going to get it much higher. I think Druid was... Druid is one of my least favorite classes in Hearthstone, period. I think Druid is the one class I've like, almost... Well, at one point I disenchanted almost everything for the Druid, because I was like, I'm not really going to play Druid. But obviously I realized after a while that every now and then in single player content, which is, as you know, is what I live for, is sometimes I'll need to play Druid, and then it's handy to have some stuff. For example, the classic Jade Idol. You can see how crazy this is now. With the Gadgets and Auctioneer there, and me just keep spamming that card, I will get 3 in the deck, pull 1, get 3 more in the deck, pull 1, and I do that tons and tons of times. So now we are probably sitting on about 10 of those cards, 12 of those cards. At this point on, it's time to start summoning them, making them stronger and stronger every time. We got a 3-3 and a 4-4, next one's gonna be 5-5, and then a 6-6. Well, you know, you understand how the Jade Golem works. Malfurion is the one I think, story-wise, has like the least interest really in the Lich King at all. Not really involved with anything in particular. He's just sort of here as a hero, really. His brother, Illidan, there's a story, although mostly just as rivals, really. More details of that can be found in my Warcraft 3 campaign, which you can find on my channel. There's a lot of preparation, a lot of setup in this one. Most classes I don't have the time to extend this phase this long and really make sure I've got the deck, hand, and board set up properly. It's a bit of a luxury, I realized later on when trying out other classes. As you can see now, the Jade Golems are starting to get really dangerous. That's the end of the Frostmourne phase, and now the rest at this point is just mostly just cleanup. I have a solid, strong board. He does still have, as you may have noticed, I've barely touched him. He still has the full health and 27 out of his 30 armor. But it's not really a huge deal. This Remorseless Winter for some classes is just a joke. For some classes is lethal. Killing off the skeletons to get the random Knights of the Frozen Throne card is, as with most random things, sometimes super useful, sometimes completely garbage. Lots of Jade Golems on the way. I'm gonna start with a swipe here. And then just start trading. At this point on, I'm spawning so many Jade Golems that he just flat out can't compare. It's a 7-7. Next up's gonna be an 8-8. You can sort of see now what's going to happen. There is no way for him to stop this anymore. He just flat out doesn't have what it takes. Even a Blizzard is only temporary. It kills one of them. But I'm gonna get all of them back. If I ever feel like I need a bunch of them, I mean, I have Nourish for that. Draw a whole bunch of things, whole bunch of cards. And a whole bunch of Jade Golems. I put in a lot of ramp in the deck, but I ended up not needing all of it. But that's how it always goes. You never quite know how much of it you're going to need. There we go. This is going to be a 9-9, a 10-10, and an 11-11. At this point on, there's like no way I can lose. Not with the cards he has. Obliterate takes the second slot as my most hated spell, because he tends to always use it on that key card I'm saving. There is, in theory, ways to get this guy into fatigue. The only problem is his Remorseless Winter will keep doing more and more damage. I think really only heavy heal or armor decks could deal with it, but at this point on, I'm just playing it safe, making sure to clear the board. I notice we have plenty of cards left, really no need to worry. I want to summon the empty mana crystal here. I thought that would give me like a loose mana, but it didn't, but who cares. You can see how much damage I have on the board. You can throw as much Remorseless Winter on me as you want, buddy. It's not gonna help.
None shall rise.
Ah, the Black Knight. Black Knight was one of my first ever legendaries I got when playing Hearthstone back in way ages ago. Back in Classic before even Naxxramas was out. And it was super fun.
Impossible! Impossible!
And that is the end of the Druid.
I see only darkness before me. There must always be a Lich King.
Malfurion the Pestilent. I will say the art is pretty cool. He ensures the balance of nature by tending a garden of death. That is the second rune out of the 9. We got Priest down from the first one, and then Druid. Next up, the Rogue.
The Lich King!
I tried a bunch of different decks for this one until I went to one of my old favorites. I did end up having to craft a counterfeit coin, because it's a lot of the mech decks I used to run way back in the day relied on having the coin, and obviously since I always go first, I needed a fake coin. Once you're lucky enough to get that in the starting hand, the Micro Machine will pretty much handle the rest. It is the best. That's why it's important also you get the coin immediately. Because it kills all your spells. Which is a strange feeling for a rogue, but on the other hand, without spells, the rest of it is pretty simple. It's just play Hearthstone by, you know, making smart trades and putting all your dudes up and yeah. Use some weapons if need be. It can still go really badly. But the thing is, he doesn't tend to trade super often, so generally your minions will be left alone. The Vicious Fledgling is something I was advised to bring in, because it can be really good, but again, like most of Hearthstone, it's incredibly RNG. The way it works is when it attacks, it gets to adapt, which means it gets a set of upgrades.
Pathetic turn, and you've had some bad ones.
Funny that he says that. That was literally pretty much the turn where I won. The Valkyr's Shadow Guard always gets my most valuable card, so it's pretty much important to take it out as soon as I can. But since on the note on the Vicious Fledgling, I keep getting the wrong upgrades. You're supposed to get like Wind Furies, you can attack twice and therefore get like double the amount of adaptations. It never really works out. I keep getting like bad ones, basically. But we are in pretty solid position here. Obviously, the Micro Machines don't get a lot of health, but the Iron Sensei is there to deal with just that. I'm taking the chance here that she won't kill my most powerful Micro Machine. And she does. She takes out the Sensei, which normally would have been a problem, because it's very good, buffing a mech every time. But the Micro Machines is really valuable, and luckily we end up getting the Tar Creeper now. The Tar Creeper is exactly what we need. We need some sort of taunt to stop this. I say that and I'm probably gonna end up playing something else. Okay, well done, Rythian. It's not like you needed that or anything. Yeah, looking back at this, I'm pretty sure I should have played the Tar Creeper there. Instead, I get nothing, and now they might as well just die. Well, spoilers, it works out anyway. But at this point, I'm not particularly worried. I've got a solid board. But really, at this point on, I could have lost a lot. I knew that he would be able to, like, insta-kill, but he had minions. But he spent it on the Sludge Belcher instead. Luckily, I do get this Unfair Protector to give myself some taunts, which means I can actually protect my tiny Micro Machine. And let's see if we can do something with a Vicious Fledgling. Gonna have to sacrifice that poor guy. Because, as you can see, this Micro Machine is doing it. He's doing it. Here he comes.
The dark path is my destiny.
And basically, unless he summons any sort of taunt, we've won. And he doesn't. So, GG. Micro Machine, you're my hero. I just wanted to try. As you can see, no Wind Fury, nothing exciting. So, go for it, Micro Machine. All in all, pretty simple. I think I tried 1 or 2 decks before. Then I decided, actually, let's just try mech. And it worked out pretty well.
You did it, champion!
There must always be a Lich King.
Valera the Hollow. None are safe from her icy blade. Third rune completed. A third of the way there.